The sitting is resumed. Honourable member for Christchurch West.
Mr. Speaker, sir, if you would permit me, as you did for the honourable members for St. Michael Northwest, as well as the member for Christchurch South, to first start off with a passage from the good book. I too would like to start off with a passage from the good book. My first passage was going to be Ecclesiastes, chapter 3. But the honourable member for St. Michael Northwest used that one. So then I looked at Samuel, but the honourable member for Christchurch South used that one. So I had to put on my theological hat and search through to come up with one that I thought most applicable. And the reason I thought it was most applicable as well was because I reflected on what the honourable member for Christchurch South said when he started and talked about Mr. Griffith, who was gone to the great beyond. And I come to this presentation, Mr. Speaker, with a very, very heavy heart. I come to this presentation with a heavy heart because there was a lady who was gone to the great beyond, who was with me from the beginning. Her name was Rosie Grant Mosley, known to many of us in here. And she always used to tell me, along with another lady who was also gone to the great beyond, Miss Dorothy Small Leslie. And both of them, when I first started in this job, told me, always put God first. So I'm going to put God first with Matthew 7:24-27. Therefore, whosoever heareth these sayings of mine, and doeth them, I will liken him unto a wise man, which built his house upon a rock. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell not, for it was founded upon a rock. And every one that heareth these things of mine, and doeth them not, shall be likened unto a foolish man, which built his house upon the sand. And the rain descended, and the floods came, and the winds blew, and beat upon that house, and it fell. And great was the fall of it. Mr. Speaker, the Barbados Labour Party is like the rock that the people of Barbados have built upon. The leadership of the Barbados Labour Party in the Prime Minister is like that rock that we have built upon. You know, as I sat here, Mr. Speaker, you know, I had prepared a speech to speak right after the Prime Minister last night. And when you prepare a speech to speak after the Prime Minister, there's certain tone and certain tenure that you would expect. But after sitting here and listening to other members speak, I've changed my speech at least 5 or 6 different times. And I changed the speech at least 5 or 6 different times because I was in awe and amazed at how strong this team Barbados Labour Party is. And I heard the member for St. Michael South speak to the team, and I have to agree and concur. We started out the batting with the member for Christchurch West Central. And with his capability and ability and understanding all the wherewithal of the various types of biodiversity and the tremendous work that he's done in botanical gardens, I salute the member for Christchurch West Central. Then we went into the member for St. Michael West and the good work that he's doing with the Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. and how he was able to encapsulate the benefits of the budget and how things were going and all of the things that he was to be able to pull in. Took half of my speech of the things that I wanted to talk about, but great because it showed me that the people in the Barbados Labour Party are strong and diverse. And even although we may have different perspectives, even although we may have different points of view, together we make a strong team, a team for the times, a team that is ready, willing, and able to continue the good work of this country and for this country, because at the end of the day, we are here to represent the people of Barbados. All of us, the member for St. James North, the member for St. James South. I look forward to the member for St. James Central. All of us working together, building together, striving together to make this country better each and every day. And I am proud of all that have spoken so far, and I look forward to hearing the speeches of those that come after. And let me say, the Barbados Labour Party can encompass and has encompassed for years differing views. And yes, we look at the macro, but let me say to my colleague from Christchurch South, we look at the micro too. And part of that micro is getting those people that were involved in those programs, in the ASH program, be it at MTW or be it at National Housing Corporation, when I was the minister, changing them over to training programs and giving them opportunities to learn how to be carpenters, how to do bobcat operator, how to do tiling. I met with all of mine. And when I met with them, I made sure that each and every one of them, even before the time that they were supposed to, even knew they were going to, I said, this program is going to come to an end. Believe it or not, there's no more ash on the ground. So you need to get into the training programs. And when the training program came in 2022, the construction gateway came in 2022, I made sure, and who could not even fill out the form, we got there and we filled out forms for people to help them get into the program. And that has paid dividends. Because now every single one of the people, certainly in Christchurch West, have been in the program. I think there was one lady that was not in the program, but she was at advanced age and she didn't want to go into the program. I understand that. But I was happy that now some of them are coming to the end. And come April 1st, they will be at the end or almost at the end of their program. So I accept and I understand exactly where the member for Christchurch South is coming from. Because we have a duty and have a responsibility to all of our constituents. And you know, when you have a mandate like the people of Barbados have given us on 2 occasions, when you have that mandate, it brings a significant burden as well. And that burden is that everybody, all over the whole country, becomes your constituency. The whole country is you are required to be able to provide the best you can for them each and every day. So I understand and I know that there is always work to be done. I know the construction gateway has done the first cohort or coming to the end of the first cohort, and other cohorts will be coming. And I anticipate that they'll be adding other training programs. But it is not everybody that will get an opportunity when the program is finished. And we have to then go back and see who has dropped between the cracks and pick those up and find programs for them too. And that's what we have to do. Because at the end of the day, they are all our people. And nothing is too good for the people of Barbados. Nothing is too good for the people of Barbados. Mr. Speaker, I want to inculcate in our people something that I heard about a hospital recently. It was a hospital, I think it was in Turks and Caicos. I had a meeting with an administrator there. And she said something very, very interesting. She said, and I guess you forgive me if it's a hospital, because the hospitals, I lived most of my life in hospitals, so I was intrigued to be able to meet with her. But she said something very, very interesting, which stuck with me. And what she said is, in the hospital that they run, which is internationally credited, they have started what's called a culture of quality. A culture of quality. And I would like to think that we in Barbados can move away from a culture of mediocrity, which unfortunately has been the norm for some time. Probably started under the previous administration. They were beyond under mediocre. But a culture of quality is what we need to inculcate in our people. Quality health care, quality education, quality infrastructure, quality tourism, quality work for quality pay. Improving the quality of life through a culture of quality. And I think if all of us working together can adopt that culture of quality, Barbados will go a long, long way. And what she said to me is, by inculcating that culture of quality in the hospital, where everybody from the manager to the gardener, everybody was part of a team. Everybody was part of the vision. Everybody working towards that culture of quality. They were able to raise their standards. And I implore and I encourage the people of Barbados, be it wherever you are, from the cabinet to the people working in the grounds, the farmer, the housekeeper, the hairdresser. Let us inculcate that culture of quality, doing the best you can for the people that require your services. Mr. Speaker, I was given the mandate of supervision of the Planning and Development Department. And I want to first thank the people who work in that department for the tremendous work that they have done over the last year. Over the last year, Mr. Speaker, they have done over 2,300 permissions in, I think, 13 months. 2,300. Never before done in that department. But it's not only permissions that they do. In addition to permissions, they have to do building starts, they have to do certificates of compliance, and they have to do enforcement where people have gone outside the crease. And all of that they have done and managed and done it tremendously well. And I want to commend them for it, and I think that they definitely deserve all and the best that we can give them. And I truly salute the work that they have done. And I want to thank the Prime Minister for having the confidence in me to now give me full responsibility for the department. It is, I believe, the second time in the history of this country where somebody who is not a Prime Minister is given responsibility for the planning department. The only other time was Ambassador Elizabeth Thompson, I believe, for a couple years, that she was given responsibility for planning and development. And I want to say, Mr. Speaker, that the people of Barbados can be assured that I will be fully engaged. I will be fully and completely engaged, because planning and the planning department is the basis on which all of the growth of this country will be based. Planning and development is the basis on which all of the growth and development of this country will be based. You know, I often say a joke to the people of the planning department that you can't even build a doghouse without their permission. And that is technically not correct, but you know you can't even put up a sign without their permission. And what we need to do is to find a way to make the planning department, and we're working on it, lean and fit for purpose. And we've just approved through Cabinet an opportunity for them to do change management so that they can become fit for purpose for all of the various applications that we'll have to go through. It's going to be a busy time. It's going to be a difficult time. But I believe that we are fit for the task and ready to take it over. Mr. Speaker, this government has been able to do tremendous work. Indeed, last year, we had 10% growth in our gross domestic product. I look back over the 10 years of the Democratic Labour Party and look to see what growth they had. I think on one occasion, they had 1% growth. Other than that, it was less than 1%. Less than 1%. Whereas last year, we had double-digit growth for the first time in this country. And we expect another 4 to 5% growth this year, led by the projects that this country and this party is going through. You know, Mr. Speaker, we have tremendous projects going on. The first project, and it's not only projects on paper, these are projects that are coming to fruition. I was so proud to be at the groundbreaking for the geriatric hospital, together with the member for St. Michael South, the member for St. Michael West, as well as the Minister of Health. And the people of Barbados will soon be able to look forward in 18 to 24 months to a brand new geriatric hospital with an opportunity for 406 beds for the people on which we have built this country. Because at the end of the day, our senior citizens have made a tremendous contribution, and it is on their shoulders that we now stand. But that is but one project. My project that has taken me years of work, Mr. Speaker, years of looking at how we can improve it, years of meeting with the contractor, discussing how we can save, looking at the access to it, and now seeing it come almost to fruition, holding the contractor's feet to the fire. None other than in St. Philip, Sam Lord's Castle. And this is it with the lights on, Mr. Speaker. It is, and it will be, a tremendous addition to the room stock in Barbados. And it is not only when this is completed, and I must tell you, you remember when you and I worked to get this honorable chamber done? And how we literally had to move in while the workers were still here to work to move him out. I probably gonna have to do that at Sam Lord's Castle as well. Because he tells us end of April, and I'm holding his feet to the fire to be able to get opportunities for 1,000 workers at Sam Lord's Castle.
I remember, I hope you make these things a document.
Of course. There will obviously be a document of the House, Mr. Speaker. I guess there will be a cherished document of the House. But it isn't only the hotel. Because in order to make a good hotel, you have to make a good access road. And we've been working diligently to make the access road to the hotel, the Long Bay Road, that the honourable member for St. Philip South has been behind us to get done for years. And I am sure that he is very, very happy that that road is being done. But it isn't only the road. The natural gas services to the hotel and along that road being done as well. And the spin-off just from that road, 109 new connections to the natural gas grid by virtue of putting that access to the hotel. You got to clap for that. But let me tell you, St. Philip is not the only place that we are doing construction. And I'm going to take you along the southern corridor and up the western coast of Barbados. In Christchurch, Indigo has done its piling already, about to do the foundations. A major infrastructural hotel is going there in Hastings. On the other side of the road, Maple Manor, a mixed-use facility, $120 million investment. I think it's going 10 stories up. That is on the other side of the road. We're looking at the Civic Centre in Oistins. I heard the member for Christchurch South speak about it before, and we would have spoken about it. Obviously, we have a police station, a library, a clinic on one side of the road, and we have government land on the other side of the road. The side next to the shore is obviously of higher opportunity for hotel investment. So we're going to do the same thing that we're doing in Old Town, move the Civic Centre to the land side, and then make an opportunity for a hotel on the seaside. And we're doing that in Oistins. We're about to go to a PPP for that. Blue Horizon and Savannah. Two owned by government, and again looking to make arrangements with private investors to be able to develop both of those hotels as well. Then we come into St. Michael, Hyatt Ziva. This one is a difficult one. It will be an iconic development for Bridgetown. It will change the landscape of Bridgetown, not only in its design, not only in its potential, but it has now opened opportunities all across Bay Street, going all the way down to the Pierhead and beyond. And that whole corridor from Hyatt Ziva, which I will always say is the old Harbour Police. So some people don't even know what the Harbour Police was. When I talk to younger members, they don't even know about the Harbour Police. But from the Harbour Police gate all the way down to the Pierhead and even Carlisle House is opportunities for tourism. And people have been knocking on the door to be able to get these investments going as quickly as we can. And then we move to St. James. Royalton, and again, as I said, the Civic Centre. The Prime Minister said that Royalton is about to start. I've been in discussions with them. They have permission. I understand that they've got their funding, and they've reported to me that in the third quarter of this year, they too intend to start. For those who don't know, Royalton is on the old Discovery Bay site, and they will be starting very shortly. St. Peter, Nikki Beach. I had the opportunity not only to bring to this Honourable Chamber, together with the member for St. George South, getting the acquisition for BTI. BTI has done all the promotions, looking at designing the road. On Sunday, I met with the member for St. Peter. We went and spoke to the residents of all of the various works that we've going on there at Nikki Beach. And I look forward to when that construction will be done as well. But not to be left out is my good friend in St. Lucie. Because not only are we doing work in St. Philip, not only are we doing work in Christchurch, not only are we doing work in St. James, not only are we doing work in St. Peter, but, Mr. Speaker, we have a developer who's already bought the hotel at North Point and has a development for St. Lucie as well. And you know, the Honourable Member for St. Lucie, the Honourable Member for St. Lucie was with me at the Ministry of Transport and Works. The Honourable Member for St. Lucie was with me at the Ministry of Housing. I will be with the Honourable Member for St. Lucie at this hotel. And let me tell you, Mr. Speaker, it is a developer that will be keeping the Barbadian vernacular, using the same kind of design as chattel houses, as you can see here for the rooms. And I have the permission. I don't normally use the developer's plans, but I asked permission because I was so proud and to be able to share with the member for St. Lucie that development is coming to St. Lucie as well. But it doesn't only go to hotels. It does not only go to hotels, Mr. Speaker. In addition to the hotel investment that we are seeing across Barbados, we're also seeing investments in hospitals. And sometimes it feels like every other day I have a different investor come in to tell me what he wants to build in Barbados. It literally feels like, just last night, I had an investor tell me that he wants to do something. Early today, another investor wants to do something else. But you know, it makes me think, where were these investors when the Democratic Labour Party was in office? Because there was no investment going on then. But then all of a sudden, somebody wake up after sleeping and he knows everything and has all the answers, but could not get any investment going for 10 years. But I am happy to see these investments. We have investments in hospitals. An investment, the person has bought the land in Upton. I think it is 30 acres adjacent to the gymnasium. They're moving through the planning process, and soon we will have a top-class urgent care and hospital facility at Upton.
Good work, Honor.
In addition to that, I just met with another developer who has a hospital in Cayman. And they're looking to put in the constituency of St. Thomas, well, I guess it's the constituency of the Honourable Member for St. himself, on the side that the Welch's development is now going up, opposite Redmond Village. I guess that'll be the St. James Central. But in the St. Thomas area, Welch's, and they are building a tertiary care facility at that hospital, started the planning process. They've had the pre-application consultation, and we are moving through to get a hospital in Welch's as well. Not to be left out, a dental school at Harrison Point in St. Lucie again. 400 students will be on that campus. You know, Mr. Speaker, as I think about all of these developments, I'm hearing that I'm only talking about St. Lucie. I am not going to speak about St. George South and St. Thomas because I know the Honourable Member for St. George South will talk about all the great housing developments he's doing throughout Barbados, and in particular in St. George South. I am not going to talk about St. Thomas and St. Andrew and St. Joseph and St. John, because I know the Honourable Member for St. Michael South East is doing tremendous road work in the Scotland District, and she's going to talk about all the tremendous work that she is doing with the roads and the bridges in those constituencies. I don't want to take their thunder. I sat down here and a lot of people took my thunder, but I didn't want to take theirs. I am going to stay, as the Honourable Member suddenly tell me, stay in my lane. So I can stay in my lane and talk about my planning things that are going on. But apart from the hospitals, apart from the hotels, we have tremendous interest in photovoltaic systems and renewable energy. Tremendous interest. To the point, Mr. Speaker, that it's almost as if people have woken up to Barbados is on the move. Barbados is growing, and Barbados is a place to invest. And it is not only our people, it's people from across the globe who want to come and bring their expertise. We have photovoltaic systems that are before us. We have wind opportunities that are before us. But the one that has caught my attention is a system, a planning application that is before us, that they use photovoltaic energy to split the atoms of water. And those of you who know the atoms of water, hydrogen and oxygen, into hydrogen and oxygen by a process called electrolysis. I'm not going to get technical on it. Needless to say, they capture that hydrogen, they sell electricity when the sun is up, they sell electricity to the grid with the photovoltaics. The excess photovoltaics they use to split water into hydrogen and oxygen, capture that hydrogen, and when the sun goes down, use that hydrogen in a fuel cell to produce more electricity and not having to use the batteries because they're storing the energy with the hydrogen. And then using those fuel cells to produce more electricity also to sell to the grid. I don't think that it is being done anywhere else in this region, and it is before us, and we're looking to get that project going as a first right here in Barbados. A tremendous opportunity. And for any hydrogen that they don't use, they have an opportunity to make ammonia as well and export that ammonia. You know, we have to be cutting edge. We have to look to technology. We have to look to improve not only how we do things, why we do things, where we do things, when we do things, and look to see how we can best improve and bring efficiencies to what we do and when we do them. And that's exactly what this project does, and it has really captured my imagination. And I look forward to seeing when this project is going at full speed. In addition to the private sector developments, government has its own public sector developments. The Prime Minister talked about Queen's Park. She talked about the Treasury Building, Archer's Bay, things that Barbados Tourism Investment Inc. are doing. But I didn't forget, you know, I brought the resolution about the prison. And they have to look to be able to improve the prison and make it an opportunity for tourism investment as well. So the future is bright from the investment point of view. But you know, I could not get the opportunity to speak of these things without the good people of Christchurch West. And Mr. Speaker, I would never ever come and speak in a debate here and not talk about Christchurch West, because it is the people of Christchurch West that have sent me here. And I was particularly encouraged when I heard the Prime Minister talk about mini stadia, because the people in St. Matthias don't have a playing facility, and they only use the place next to the school. And I want the member for St. John to hear me and hear me well, because the people of Christchurch West have a shovel-ready facility. And the reason that there's a big, big piece of paper is because there's a big, big project to my heart and to the people of Christchurch West. This is a shovel-ready opportunity for mini stadia to be built in the constituency of Christchurch West. And I want the member for St. John to hear very, very carefully, because I know that he can have planning applications that he wants done. And if he wants planning applications done, and I want a mini stadia, I am sure that we could do a good deal. And I look forward to the day when the member for St. John and me are there breaking ground at the mini stadia for Christchurch West. But not to be outdone, the member for St. George South here heckling me. But I ain't finished with him yet, because I got another piece of paper. Another big piece of paper. This is for a housing project in Sergeant's Village. Also, for the people of Christchurch West. I try and let the camera pick it up.
Sergeant's Village.
Also, shovel ready. 10 duplexes and 4 single houses. So in the same way and in the same vein that I am asking the member for St. John to help me out in the mini stadia, I also have to implore the member for St. George South to help me build these houses for the people of Christchurch West. Because at the end of the day, it is people that we represent. And it is people who have sent us here. And it is those people that are looking for us to be able to do the best we can do. And to be able to not only do the macro things, like the PV systems and the hotels and the hospital, but do the micro things. Do the micro things, like the house and the stadia, the basketball court, the road tennis court, and to be their champions. Because at the end of the day, that's what the people want. The people want of us. The people know that it's not easy. The people know of the constraints that we have from a finance point of view. The people know that we're in an IMF program, but they still expect us to do 2 things: to represent their interests and to respond to them when they reach out to us. And that's what we do. Respect them, respond to them, and recognize their interests and represent them. Mr. Speaker, it is clear, it is pellucidly clear to me that the previous administration was a tax on spend. And every single budget, when I was a member, went there with the government, every single time, the people of Barbados bore the burden. So it was no surprise to me when the guy that the young member said that he's making an interview, applying for a job. It was no surprise to me that he thought that we would follow the same vein that his administration followed when they were in office. But this Barbados Labour Party administration is different. We're not a tax on spend. We understand that government can facilitate, regulate, innovate, and legislate. And we use all of the tools in our armamentarium, to be able to facilitate what the government can do to assist the people of this country. I will not go through all of the measures.
Our member has 2 more minutes.
Exactly. So I can't go through all of the measures. But needless to say, I absolutely support all of the measures that have been laid in this budget. It is visionary, it is forward-thinking, and it puts people first and reforming this economy and this society. But you know what? More than anything else, it gives to the people of Barbados confidence. Confidence in ourselves. The reason that we have all these investors, Mr. Speaker, is because the people of the world have confidence in Barbados. Confidence that they did not have in the previous administration. confidence in the leadership of Mia Amor Motley, the Prime Minister of this country. Sorry for calling her name. Confidence in the Barbados Labour Party and this government. They have confidence. And at the end of the day, that is what it's all about. Confidence in them, confidence in us. And we too must have confidence in ourselves. Confidence that we can do it. Confidence that we have the know-how. Confidence that we have the ability. Confidence that we have the ability, we have the brain, we have the brawn, we have everything that it takes to make Barbados a leader amongst others in this region. It's already a leader, and we can take it even further. And I am sure, and I often say, Mr. Speaker, that fortune favors the brave. Fortune favors the brave. And once we can take that on, embolden that confidence, be brave and be bold and face this era, I am sure that we can do it, because I know and you know we all can. Mr. Speaker, I'm obliged.
Honourable Member for St. Peter.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. I don't have very much voice, but I would not know how not to stand representing those who sent me and adding my voice to this debate unless I was actually laying down on a hospital bed. And so I will attempt, with what little I have, to share my views. And I want to begin, Mr. Speaker, by saying that the proposals in yesterday's presentation by the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast, I consider to be creative. I recognize them to be futuristic. At the same time, I understand them to be realistic and also pragmatic. Now, I use these words not because they sound sweet, but at least they sound sweet to me. But it's not just because they have a ring to them. But if an honest individual examines the presentation yesterday, that honest person will come to the conclusion that the measures spoke to the future, that they were creative, but they also spoke to unlocking creativity, that they weren't wild, they were realistic. So modest in many respects, and also pragmatic, because while grounded in a philosophy, a people-centered philosophy, they were also moderated to recognize the times in which we still live. And that, for me, Mr. Speaker, is the hallmark of honest leadership. It is good to talk all kinds of stuff, but having a vision, being realistic, being pragmatic while standing on principle is important to me. It is important to the people that I represent, the people of the constituency of St. Peter. There is something that we often say, Prime Minister says it all the time, the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast, that we are not perfect. My predecessor as Member of Parliament for St. Peter was probably the first who alerted me to the fact, and it seems to be a fact based on everything that I've seen, that there is a perfection that is expected from the Barbados Labour Party in government that is not expected of the Democratic Labour Party in government. That is not necessarily a good thing, but it is a real thing. And that is why I joined the Honourable Member for St. Michael Northeast in saying that we are not perfect. This party is not perfect. This government is not perfect. And I did not join this party, and I'm not a part of this government because I expected it to be perfect. I joined because I detected an element of honesty. And what I see demonstrated in leadership in this government through this party is a recognition that from time to time there will be mistakes made, missteps. But I am happy, Mr. Speaker, I am happy, particularly as a person of faith, to be part of an organization that when it missteps, steps back and says, let's stop, let's make the correction. I think that is the hallmark of good leadership. The ability to recognize where you're going, recognize if you're making missteps, and make changes. I want to start with that. My colleagues know that I don't like to spend a lot of time on foolishness or on foolish people. And a lot of people have quoted a lot of texts this evening, today. I am not going to do a lot of biblical quoting. One short verse in Psalm 37, right at the beginning of the chapter. I live by it, and I'm going to say it here this evening. Do not get upset because of evildoers. The King James Version says, fret not thyself because of evildoers. You know, there are people walking about Barbados who are, at best, misleading people in order to get into office. Or at worst, being dishonest and nasty with the people of this country. And I say nasty, I don't use words like these, but Mr. Speaker, I've had occasion in the recent past to have to confront persons who saw something going about on WhatsApp that says they can't take a picture of themselves or they're going to get locked up or some kind of nonsense. There are intelligent people in this country who are being terrorized by nastiness. And it is not right. It is not right. All of us have fought political campaigns. In political campaigns, you attack the other side. But you don't terrorize people to gain office. This chamber is not a place for terrorists. And while Barbadians have thought that they got rid of a sect in 2018, we have a new breed who are practicing the same nasty politics. But it is not good. It is not good. I don't say that. Listen, Mr. Speaker, we are 3-4 years maybe away from an election. So I'm not in here fighting an election campaign. I am saying that the people of St. Peter, I told the Honourable Member for St. James Central that he speaks on behalf of the people of Barbados. I speak on behalf of the people of St. Peter. It is unfair for my people to be saying nonsense, things that have no bearing in fact, and be sitting down at night worried when they should be enjoying a TV show, talking with a family, but worried that they can't take a selfie, that they can't post it, that they can't share an honest view with a friend. It just isn't right. And those who, as the Honourable Member for St. Philip North said, those who are interviewing for jobs, normally when you interview for a job, and I speak as Minister of Labour, I speak as a former practitioner of HR management, when you interview for a job, you go on your best behavior. These people are interviewing, or the person who my honourable friend from St. Michael South spoke about, interviewing for a job, but displaying the worst of characteristics. That kind of behavior says to me and says to Barbadians, you are unfit for the role you are playing, and you are unfit to lead this country. You know, on September 11th, 2001, I was in Holland. And the specter of terrorism and what the Western media was speaking about began to haunt me, and I started to stereotype. So there were people who look a certain way that I started to think might be people who would want to cause me harm. But Mr. Speaker, over the years and in very recent times, I realized that these people with terroristic tendencies could look like anybody, could sound like anybody. They could actually come off as intelligent. As strange as that is, but you know, sometimes the most intelligent people are the ones you gotta watch. The ones who know everything about everything. There is also, and I'm not gonna quote scripture after this, but the Bible is very clear that if a prophet's words do not come to pass, that person is a false prophet. A false prophet. In biblical times, those people were stoned. I am not a believer really in capital punishment. But you know, sometimes you wonder if there's not a place for it. Because when you get into that kind of mode and apparently mold, where you just want to destroy a society in order to reach some lofty position or some position you consider as lofty, and you walk about and say to Barbadians, there are going to be a whole set of taxes, and a whole set of people are going to be going home. Well, I smiled when the Honourable Member for St. Philip North spoke. She said that the Prime Minister disappointed her. She had her bowl of popcorn, listening for these taxes and for the people going home. And the Prime Minister started by saying, no new taxes. That it made a lie, and I think lie, as in telling an untruth, is parliamentary language. It made a lie of the person and the associates of the person who said there were going to be new taxes and lots of people going home. But Mr. Speaker, I want Barbadians to be very, very clear of something. It is the modus operandi of the Democratic Labour Party when faced with any challenge, when faced with economic challenges, their mindset is taxation or sending home people. And so when in 2023, they examine Barbados and they see what is happening in the country, they put themselves in the position of government. And they come to the conclusion that the only way to get out of this is to tax the people or send home people. 1991, 1992, 2013, 2014. That is what they know. And I want to say to you, Mr. Speaker, and to the people of this country, that the Democratic Labour Party is demonstrating that it has not changed. And I am not sure if I should have expected them to change. Because I am told by physicians and those who are scientists that you don't just change DNA. If this is your DNA, then you don't get a blood transfusion and change DNA. The Democratic Labour Party of 2023, regardless of who is leading it, whether sensible or not, is the same Democratic Labour Party of 1991-93. Is the same Democratic Labour Party of 2013, 2014, 2015. In 1990, Mr. Speaker, this Barbados Labour Party said to the country, the economy is not well. The leader of the Democratic Labour Party said, with total disdain to someone who is now a national hero, indicated to Barbados, the country is batting like sobers. Now, I am not sure who sobers that gentleman was referring to, but it could not have been the right excellent. Because, Charlie Sobers, well, I was much younger then, and I thought that the reference was to the greatest cricketer of all time. But that is the kind of misleading of the Barbadian population that the Democratic Labour Party does. In 2013, everything was good. Now, we could see all the downgrades, and we knew that we were in Rosa, we say in Potter. I don't know if Hansard can write P-O-T-T-A. I don't know if that's the way it's spelled. But they said what they had to say, returned to office, and then sent home people. We know the NCC sent home people. There is an inherent dishonesty in the leadership of the Democratic Labour Party. And the people of this country ought to be aware of it and ought not to forget it. Yep. Leaders change. The leader in 1991-93 was not the same leader in 2012, 13, 14. Is not the leader now. Leaders change. But the essence of that organization, at least at the leadership level, remains the same. And I'm specifying at the leadership level because there are a lot of decent people who support the Democratic Labour Party. Yep. A lot of intelligent people. A lot of people who hope that those who submerge to the top can actually recapture the spirit of the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow. They find out as the years roll on that the leadership of the Democratic Labour Party has no interest in Barrow. Nobody with an interest in the Right Excellent Errol Walton Barrow would tell a woman in Boscobel that she has to drop out of university if her daughter is to remain. You walk about and try to claim all the credit for free education. A process started by the Right Excellent Sir Grantley Herbert Adams. You want all the credit, but then you tell poor people, you can't go to university. We're not paying for it. If you want to go, you got to find the money somewhere. We are not paying for it. So we have an organization in the Democratic Labour Party that is not, tainted is not the word. At its leadership, it is dysfunctional and it is dishonest. I didn't plan to spend so much time
Necessary.
on the Democratic Labour Party,
Necessary.
but you know,
I didn't know you were finished, Honourable Member. You were finished? I thought you were now starting.
I tell you something, Mr. Speaker. On my way from home this morning, I traveled across the Ronald Highway, and I saw a sign at the lights at Westmoreland. A billboard which said, "Proven, not promised." And then I drove a little further, and I was approaching the roundabout by Orange Hill, a village very close to the heart of the Honourable Member for St. Andrew. And as I approached the roundabout, there's a plantation house on the right, if you're heading north to south. And there's another sign that says, "Proven, not promised." And it set me thinking. I started to do something that I ought not to have done. To try in my head to put the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East in the same section of my brain as the current leader of the Democratic Labour Party is something that I ought to ask forgiveness for. It is not right. It is almost as bad as what the Dems leadership is doing. It is not right. But, and that is why I say that I appreciate when people make errors and are able to fess up to errors. I just fessed up to one. But for one period of maybe insanity, I thought, we have a leader who presented for 4 hours yesterday, like I said, creative, futuristic, realistic, and pragmatic. And we had somebody responding who said, the only thing we have to fear is fear itself. Mr. Speaker, I don't think that my creator who really wants me to spend any more time on stupidity. The people of St. Peter, on reflecting on yesterday's presentation, are happy. They're happy, and I'm going to say something the Prime Minister, the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East said pretty early on in her presentation. She spoke to the fact that we welcome investment, but it must be respectful of our people, our national spaces, and our traditions. She also said, in Barbados there will be no private beaches, access for all. The people of St. Peter and the people of St. Mains, we had a very good meeting. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West spoke to that. A very good meeting on Sunday after I had a town hall maybe about 2 weeks before. And we explained the process, we explained the development, and they're happy. As a matter of fact, they have given us certain demands. And I'm saying it now in the presence of the Honourable Member for St. Michael Southeast. All of the milled material, and I'm saying it slowly and deliberately on purpose, all of the milled material that come from the road that is going to be realigned, we expect and we demand that it be used in 6 months. There will be a temporary road put in before the new realigned road is put in it will be done with Barbara Green. The people of Six Men's demand, and he who they have elected to speak on their behalf in this place adds his voice to that demand, that when that is removed, all of the milled material must be used in Six Men's. I, like the Prime Minister, don't count chickens before they hatch. So whilst I hear consider it done, I will only ease off of this soapbox when I see the mill material on the ground in Six Men's.
Yes, sir.
The people of Six Men's have also said to the contractor and to the engineer and to the senior minister, who is also now the Minister of Planning, that they expect to get some construction jobs, and the arrangement has been made. I'm saying this for all of St. Peter and all of Barbados to hear. The arrangement has been made. No guarantees have been given, and being fair, but the arrangement has been made that those who have skills will make those skills known. We will compile a list, and we will be presenting that list to the contractor. Now, Mr. Speaker, it will not be nice in here if some of those people don't get work. And that's all I have to say on that matter. I, like the Honourable Member for Christchurch South, I can't say like how he says it, but I'm very, very, very sure and clear that I'm in here only because a majority of persons in St. Peter thought that I was fit to represent them in here. And that is what I will do until they tell me different. But the people of St. Peter are also happy about the musical training, the strings training in the primary schools. In St. Peter, my constituency, we have 4 primary schools, 3 public primary schools and 1 private primary school. And so the children of St. Peter and one of my primary schools also attracts persons from the constituency of St. Lucie, the All Saints Primary. And so those who attend those schools are looking forward to this training in music. They are looking forward to the relief in terms of water rates, the 25% discount if the arrangements are made to pay in the allotted time. They're also looking forward to the tenantry roads program. That was stated by the Prime Minister. I know the Honourable Member for St. Michael Southeast is very familiar with my terrible roads. And just in case the Honourable Member forgets, terrible road in Boscobel, terrible road in Indian Ground, terrible road in Farm Road, terrible road in Black Bess. Every place that there are significant numbers of residents, there are terrible roads in St. Peter. Terrible road in Mount Brevetor. And so I expect that the tenantry roads program will start to see some relief. The people of St. Peter are reasonable people. The Honourable Member for Christchurch West recognized that very well on Sunday. Very, very reasonable people. They will, however, not be put in a position where they're seeing roads happening in other places and they're not seeing at least one being done in St. Peter. They're not going to accept that. As a matter of fact, the people of Boscobel have already started to reject that. And I want to be very, very clear to you, Mr. Speaker, to this Honourable Chamber, and to this country. I am discharging my responsibility as the Member of Parliament for the great constituency of St. Peter. The people, particularly in the east, in the Boscobel area, what I call the Greater Boscobel area, I say Greater Boscobel because my predecessor in office used to say that there were people who wanted to replace him, who wanted to take over from him, who don't know where the Baltic is, who don't know where Lonesome Hill is. But the Greater Boscobel area includes the Baltic. It includes some other areas, Collins and Boscobel, St. Andrew. It includes Tree Hill. It includes Bobby Johnny Corner. It includes a number of other places, Gaze and the Mount. But the matter of the filtration system to be installed at Allendale is of importance to the people of the Greater Boscobel area. Because while the water is running better now than it did in the not too distant past, it is discolored. And so you can appreciate that you can't cook with discolored water. You don't drink discolored water. You can't wash white shirts with discolored water. You can't really wash anything with discolored water. So there's a significant inconvenience. And the people of Greater Boscobel are looking forward to this filtration system. We understand what has been happening at Allendale. The water levels are low. There's this salinity. We understand what's happening with the pipes. We are happy that we've had mains laid from Lambert's to Tree Hill. We want the work to continue. The people are getting a little bit tired of promises. We want to see the work continue. I am of the view that Boscobel, the road, Boscobel and then the alley, is probably not going to be able to be repaved until the pipe work is done. And so the longer that takes to be done, the worse the road becomes. And that's not something that we can continue with for too long. We also appreciate in St. Peter the continuation of the elderly care program. That is one that has really brought some satisfaction to those who have been nation builders in this country. You know, the older people, and from time to time we try to remind the Honourable Member for Christchurch that Central is not just him. You know, he feels that he has some special. But all of us like the elderly. And I don't know why he should think that he's the only person here. But the elderly in St. Peter are happy that this program will be continuing, where there are persons who can engage with the elderly and who can give them an option to the nonsense that they may be seeing on a WhatsApp or the foolishness that somebody may be calling them and telling them. They get to interact with sane, reasonable people in this program. And the people of St. Peter are very, very happy that this program will be continuing. We are also happy, and this is very important, from Spikestown to Six Mains, the matter of beach erosion. The people of Six Mains have asked me to say in this chamber that they are waiting for the promised gabions. The people of Six Mains have asked me to say in this honourable chamber that they are still waiting for the promised gabions. The beach erosion that the Honourable Member for St. Michael North East has spoken about in terms of funding, the funding of green projects, we look forward to that. We also look forward to be fully involved in the celebrations that the Honourable Prime Minister shared. She spoke to recognizing Indigenous people. I'll say to this honourable chamber that 2027 will actually mark 3,650 years from the dating of the first settlement, the earliest dating in Barbados. That earliest dating is on the site of formerly Haywood's Plantation, where Port St. Charles now sits. Those items, those artifacts were dated to 1623 BC. And so in 2027, 3,650 years. Prime Minister spoke to Spikes Bay, 1629, 400 years. St. Peter's Parish Church, also of 1629. 400 years. Spikeston as a town, 2030 will be 400 years. King Coffee, 1675. In 2025, 350 years. The settling of the Carolinas out of Spikeston, 1670. In 2025, 355 years. There's a lot that we expect to be able to celebrate in St. Peter, in Spikestown, and in wider St. Peter, and so we expect to be fully a part of the celebrations. Now, Mr. Speaker, I realize that my time has gone. But I want to wrap up, though, by saying that the measures...
I remember you are the only person who have ever said that. And you deserve something for that. Honesty is the best policy.
Thank you very much, Mr. Speaker. And I will not take advantage.
I would not allow you to, Honourable Member.
Yes, that is correct.
I have given you a concession. That's all I have done.
That
to
is
enjoy
correct.
it.
And the Prime Minister did say that those who receive concessions have to abide by certain rules.
And ought to be glad.
Ought to be glad, and also will be audited to make sure that they are sticking to their commitments. I want to end by indicating that the presentation yesterday was people-centered and worker-centered. I could just mention briefly. The film industry, those concessions spoken to, there is a requirement for 15%, at least 15% of crew and cast to be persons from Barbados, citizens or residents, finding work opportunities for Barbadians. The matter of aggressively attacking this issue with regional travel, reducing the tax on regional travel, that is not just a tourism issue. That is a worker issue. Because this allowance is for what we call the lower season. I think it's July, the summer period. And what this will do, if we can stimulate travel from our Caribbean neighbors, this will mean that the person who would ordinarily be laid off will find work. The person who will ordinarily be put on a 4-day or 3-day may get an extra day. This is worker-centered. The loans to help postal workers, those are workers. Those are people who got to bring our mail when we got dogs sometimes running them down. These are persons on the front line, but increasing from 5,000 to 25,000, including nurses in the Polter, where they're now part of being able to access loans to finance vehicles. My ministry, along with the ministry led ably by the Honourable Member for St. Michael's South, working to find employment opportunities for persons, young persons with disabilities through Job Start Plus, worker-centered, former workers, because, Mr. Speaker, every pensioner is a former worker. And when you raise the allowance from 40,000 to 45,000, you are benefiting former workers.
St. Michael East used to be a helicopter. It's in the Concord. No, I got to tell you about landing the helicopter.
Yes.
Right.
I'm going to land by saying to you, Mr. Speaker, that the training initiatives are great, fantastic. To say that church groups and social groups, while working with the Honourable Member for the city, they are on board and they've wanted to assist. There's an outreach that they've made for some time now to the Ministry of Education. It is taking too long to materialize, and it needs to materialize. But I want to end, Mr. Speaker, by saying the Honourable Prime Minister continues to demonstrate leadership of a high caliber. The Honourable Prime Minister continues to take advice on economic matters from a team that has been creative, a team that has not focused on taxation and spending, but a team that focuses on how to develop a country. I, Mr. Speaker, am happy to be a part of the cabinet and this honorable chamber at a time when there is such visionary leadership. At a time when we are existing under a leader who is proven, not promised. At a time when, even though the world is still very uncertain, geopolitically, from a health perspective, still a lot of uncertainties. But I'm happy to be part of a government that in the midst of all the uncertainty can come to the people of Barbados in spite of the noises of those who are dishonest to bring policies that are creative, futuristic, realistic, and pragmatic. And with that, Mr. Speaker, I totally and fully support the measures. I see them as fit for our situation, and the people of St. Peter are honored to be led by a Prime Minister who is able to bring this to the country. I'm obliged to you, Mr. Speaker.
Honourable Leader, Government Business.
Thank you, Mr. Speaker. I beg to move the suspension of the House until 8:15.
Question that this honourable chamber be suspended until 8:15 p.m. All those honourable members in favour, please say aye. Those against it, please say no. Meeting the ayes have it. This honourable chamber stands suspended until 8:15 p.m.